About Don't Worry, Darling. And, I wasn't worried until I saw the movie. We went and saw that yesterday. We'll get into a review on that. Plus, Dennis Prager went on the Young Turks to debate Ana Kasparian. And I know what a lot of you are thinking. Who? But anyway, she's an angry leftist. And the debate went, we'll see. We're going to review that today. All that and more. Let's get into it. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Unapologetic Live. We've got Taylor sitting next to me. And we got Scott in the producer's bay.
What's up, everyone?
Now, let's get into Don't Worry, Darling. Like I said, we went and watched this movie last night. And before I get into my spoiler-free synopsis, I will let Harry Styles explain why he loves the movie so much.
I think when I read it, I think it was... I just love the story, and the mood board was very tasteful. So I was a big fan of them. I'm a big fan of mood boards.
Get up for mood board.
Mood boards.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, I love the story. I thought it was very kind of, it says a lot, I think, about, words. More words. But just, society and patriarchy and the whole thing. So it was, I was very happy to be able to...
Yikes. I had to speed through that because if you sat through what was him just trying to find the words to describe a project that he's heavily invested in.
The words escaped me to describe what we just listened to.
Oh my gosh. All I have to say is, in the words of Harry Styles, Don't Worry, Darling was a movie. And it felt like a movie. Felt like one of those things that you go to the movie theater to watch. Now, let's actually get into the film and talk about it, because this is going to be a recurring series that we do where we go and watch movies that have a lot of hype behind them. Don't Worry, Darling is one of those. We've seen a lot of drama surrounding this movie. A fight between Olivia Wilde and Florence Pugh that possibly happened. Was Shia LaBeouf going to be in the movie? No, he's replaced by Harry Styles. Plus, Olivia Wilde coming out and saying that the movie is heavily inspired by Jordan Peterson, and that she, in fact, based her villain character in the film off of him. So let's get into what I saw and what we all saw yesterday at Don't Worry, Darling. The movie is following a young married couple by the name of Alice and Jack. So Alice and Jack live in this semi-utopic town called Victory. It's a small little town full of little husbands and wives that is actually surrounded by desert. Alice wakes up every day to make breakfast for her beautiful husband, Jack, before he heads out to work. And she lives in a little cul-de-sac where every morning all the wives come out and wave their husbands off to work. Where are they working? Some place called the Victory Project. And are any of the wives aware of what's going on there at that Victory Project? No, it's just a secret that remains a secret until later in the film develops. Now, the movie follows heavily Alice, who is played by Florence Pugh, and her life in Victory, which is seemingly very happy in the beginning, although a series of distorted experiences make her start to question the life that she's leading in this little town. You get run-ins with the owner of the town and sort of the leader of the town. His name is Frank, and he has a wife, Shelley, as his beautiful little utopic 1950s patriarchy counterparts, and they run this little town. He's very cult-like. His character is played by Chris Pine, and clearly this is the character that is heavily inspired by Jordan Peterson. So Alice starts to have all these distorted experiences within this world that she's living in, within the town of Victory. She starts to question her place within it, question how she got there, and finds that her memory is a little bit fuzzy. And we follow her through a hero's journey of recognizing where she's at and coming to terms with the situation that she's in. I think that's as far as I can go without giving you spoilers into what she finds in her journey. Now, if you guys love Jordan Peterson and sort of the views that he expresses, or you are fans of traditionalism and maybe gender roles, your male and your female counterparts, this might not be a movie that appreciates your worldview whatsoever. I think if there's one theme throughout this entire movie, it's that patriarchy is ever present and it is something to be fought, and that there is a group of men in the world who want nothing more than to control women. And living a life where your husband goes to work every day and contributes to your life and provides for you can be a very controlling environment for the divine feminine. That seems to be an ever-present idea throughout the film, without even getting into spoilers there. What else can I say about this? I think the phrase that I'll use to describe Don't Worry, Darling is a feminist fever dream. Because if you are a young feminist going in to watch this movie, it is probably your worst nightmare playing out for you onto the screen. I think this movie is so far separated from what real women want and are looking for, but it certainly just panders to a lot of the feminist delusions that many young women have in America. And it certainly paints traditional men in a very, very negative light. In pre-interviews about this movie, Olivia Wilde said that it was a heavy commentary on Jordan Peterson. Like I said, the main villain in the movie, Frank, is a clear depiction of Jordan Peterson, as he mentions the term chaos several times throughout the film and trying to instill order in the town that he is living in. So that's a very strong archetype for his character in particular. Olivia Wilde has also been stated that this movie is commentary on the incel community. And I'm sure many of you are familiar with hearing the term incel. For those of you who aren't, involuntarily celibate is what that term means, and it's used to describe sort of a group of young men who are incapable of getting women and maybe are trying, maybe are not trying, but sort of hold a bit of disdain for their female counterparts for not being able to get with them. You have the incels, and then you have the Chads, who are these traditional buff men who get women all the time, and the Stacys who love the Chads. So this movie has all of those themes very present in it, but more so than anything, I think it's Olivia Wilde's leftist delusion about Jordan Peterson playing out on screen. And anybody who is familiar with his ideas and the ideology, I don't know if I want to even call it ideology, that he espouses, will probably go to this movie and laugh. I think there was multiple times while sitting in the theater that Taylor, Scott, and I both audibly laughed when watching.
Oh yeah, it was very on the nose. It was like the worst thing that you can be is the guy who's listening to podcasts in his basement while watching Jordan Peterson talk to you at night about chaos and order. It's like, it was really like no subtlety at all at the parallel she's trying to make.
Right. I will say, in order to give a little bit of kudos to the film, it is beautifully shot. I cannot knock the cinematography of the film itself. Florence Pugh, as I said before, and as a thought going into the movie, gave a brilliant and strong performance from start to finish. Yep. Larry Styles, much like in his pre-interviews, gave a lackluster... Oh, what did I say?
Larry Styles.
Larry Styles.
Is that his brother?
Larry Styles. That's yours. Harry Styles, sorry for all the Harry stans watching right now, gave a semi-lackluster performance. You know, we went into the drama of, was it going to be Shia LaBeouf? Was it going to be Harry Styles? And I left the movie theater thinking I really wish it was Shia LaBeouf, because he really could have given a more well-rounded view of what this character was meant to be, what his motivations might have been in the movie, and I was disappointed. Also, brilliant performances from a lot of the supporting actors, although you don't get into their stories really at all. They are simply there for, I don't even want to call it plot support. They're just props in the movie, essentially.
Yeah, there's not a lot of development outside of the movie. The camera's on Florence Pugh like 98% of the time in the movie. But what did you think about Chris Pine's performance? Because to me, it looked like this is a good actor who just doesn't want to be here. It's kind of like the same as the vibe you get from watching him on the press tour. It's just like he looks so checked out and disinterested. I kind of got the same vibe of his performance. He was like, he did a good job. It was a convincing job, but it just kind of felt like a prisoner in this movie that he's like, why am I here?
Yep.
Yeah. There was a lot of looking and a lot of talking by him, but more looking than anything. Just at different characters, specifically at Florence, and that was about it. And yeah, he looked a little disinterested, and also as though he wasn't fully behind the words that he himself was saying.
Right.
It was strange.
I've got to deliver this Jordan Peterson spin-off speech and try to be convincing in it. It's like, oh gosh.
He didn't do horribly though. I think he gave it a good shot. It was convincing, I guess. But again, his character did not get enough development to really have you care about them. None of the characters were really developed enough to have you care. And I think you leave the movie going, I feel like there's so much more that needs to be explained here and so much more that they left out. As far as woke scoring, I give the movie a 9.5 out of 10. It was very, very woke. So many feminist motifs throughout the entire film that you almost couldn't run from them. And again, if you are a Jordan Peterson fan, you will recognize the references they're making to him and bust out laughing in the middle of the film. As far as the quality of the film, the storyline, if it had been attributed to anything other than feminism and being anti-patriarchal and all these stuff, had the potential to be a good, psychologically thrilling film. I'll give it like a 7 because I liked it better than Nope, and I don't remember what score I gave Nope. So whatever score I gave Nope, just add like 0.5 onto that. And I think that's where we land on Don't Worry, Darling. If you are a feminist looking for a young woman's anti-patriarchal revenge story, Don't Worry, Darling is the movie for you. Go see it in theaters now. I think that's it.
That's it.
Now
we're going to get into some spoilers.
Yes.
Essentially.
Now we're going to get into some spoilers. So for those of you who are planning on watching this film and don't want it spoiled, click away for a little bit, but come back for Dennis on the Young Turks because that's hilarious.
And super chats, by the way. If you are watching, we'll be responding to super chats at the end of the show. So drop them in the chat and we will answer at the end.
Also, we want to know your feedback on the show, on Unapologetic Live. We have a survey that's down in the description down below, wherever platform you're watching on right now. Please go out and check that survey out. Fill in. Let me know how often you watch the show, what topics you like on the show, what guests you want to see on the show, how we can improve on it. And also, by doing the survey, you will sign up for our email list. Want to be very clear about that. So if you want to be signed up for the email list and want to contribute your opinion so that we can shape the show to better suit you, fill out the survey in the description down below. Okay, so let's get into the spoilers. Alice and Jack, the couple that is followed in this film. Alice, of course, goes through victory and is in this semi-distorted reality, but things start to fall apart in front of her face, and she starts to question her reality and remember things from what seems to be a past life. And it turns out it is nearly exactly that. It is a past life. And you come to find out by the end of the movie that Jack, Harry Styles' character, was actually dating Alice in a real world, a real reality where Alice is a doctor and Jack is an unemployed, sad sack of a man who she doesn't really find happiness in and is not sexually active with. And Harry, or Jack's character, ends up finding Frank, this Jordan Peterson-like character, on the internet late at night while Alice is out working at the hospital and falling into the rabbit hole of a semi-incel community, even though he has a girlfriend in the movie, so incel is not the proper term.
But she's too busy performing like 7 surgeries on a 30-hour shift.
Yes.
Which, by the way, it was kind of, she looks like she's like 22. And I'm like,
right.
But you're a surgeon.
Yeah, super young doctor.
Okay,
yeah.
Sure.
Okay, doctor.
Yeah,
we get it.
She's too tired after having a long day at work, picking up his slack because he got fired from his job.
Yes.
So that's where the incel energy comes from. It's like she's the successful, smart, brilliant one, and he's kind of the loser in the relationship.
Yep.
And that's what gives him the energy to want to join this incel community and eventually get roped into this scandal that he ends up putting his girlfriend through.
Yes, so he finds Frank on the internet, and Frank is just a god among men, talking about how you need to access your masculinity. You can be a man again. You can find order from chaos. Come to Victory. And Victory is an online simulation, essentially, a VR, virtual reality that you can purchase. And Jack decides to purchase this VR, and in a sinister twist, essentially kidnap his girlfriend, deem her unconscious, and then put her in the virtual reality where she is no longer a doctor. She is nothing more than his housewife. And in his sinister twist of a story, his dream world is not a world where he sleeps with a bunch of women and subjugates all of them and controls them. It's actually a dream world where his girlfriend, who's a doctor, no longer has to work, can stay at home and possibly have kids, and he goes to work all day to provide for her, comes home to pleasure his girlfriend while they eat dinner and then go to bed the next day. That's his sinister dream.
Right. And I think it's interesting that, like you said, we're living in Olivia Wilde's version of like her greatest fear, or her greatest, like, what she thinks that Jordan Peterson is wants to lead us back to, and he wants to spread this message that, and I think it's fitting that it's set in this sort of, their fashion and the cars are like 1950s, and it's sort of in that era, because that harkens back to the time where those rigid gender roles were for largely accepted by women and and like rigidly enforced in society, and she sees it as this oppressive thing, but that is what Jordan Peterson wants to spread, and he wants to bring us back and subjugate women again into these rigid gender roles.
It's essentially like the cage or prison of masculinity that she's most afraid of, and this entire environment is just some machination that men want and need and must have and must keep control of, and Chris Pine's character Frank is just that overlord that's convincing everybody within it and convincing the men that this is the way it is, this is the way it should be. There's beauty in control, there's beauty in symmetry, and this is what we're providing here in this lovely, like, colorful, perfect world. It's strange, and it's clear that, like, Olivia, the fact that she thinks this is the worst thing that could possibly happen to humans, specifically women, is I think a little short-sighted based on just human history and the terribleness of life in general. 1950s, like, things were far worse than the 1950s.
Right. And you get to the end of the film, and the great turnaround is Alice killing Jack, not only in the simulation, but in real life, without a care. She just, boom, bashes him over the head, he's dead. And then the Frank character, the Jordan Peterson character, gets killed by his wife as well, in a wicked twist where she stabs him in the stomach, twists the knife, and says, "You stupid, stupid man. Now it's my turn."
Yeah, the movie, like, I was actually following it and entertained, and I was like, okay, this is an interesting, sort of psychological thriller element you're setting up. Where are you going with this? But once they kind of revealed, the big reveal for me was this is actually a virtually reality simulation that he unwillingly stuck his girlfriend into without, and like erased her memories and kind of reprogrammed her Stepford Wives style. And I was like, okay, this is interesting. And then it got to that climax, and I'm like, cool. And then it started. There was still like an hour left of the movie, in which it's like, now you get to watch the girls win and her figure it out, and the girls take over and kill the men, and that's like, and it was kind of just like very drawn out from there on for me, and it felt kind of so predictable from then on. It was like, okay, this is just an intersectional feminist narrative that we're just gonna go along with, and I'm along for the ride. But before that, she tipped her hand, and it was like, okay, we're creating this world. There's this tension. What's going on? Who's pulling the strings? What's all the dynamics at play? And then it was kind of like, oh, it's just kind of the same old feminism.
Yeah, that's why I would agree with your seven score, because it's like, it was an intriguing concept up until that moment where they revealed, like, oh, it's this metaverse, essentially, that masculine made metaverse, and it would have been far more intriguing had the stakes been real. You could potentially die in that metaverse, meaning you would die in the real world. But if there was an actual community or cult and compound that was made, I feel like that would just raise the stakes so much more than escaping just this virtual bind that men have on you. And there was so much symbolism too throughout the movie of, like, the iris and eyes opening and awakening, and it was just like, it was like this call to women to, like, open your eyes, because this is the world that you're currently living in, and you need to break out of it.
Yeah, the movie leaves so many things unexplained, and I think just expects you to go, oh yeah, well, it just makes sense. Makes sense that you left that unexplained. Yeah,
like the rules of, like, if the men die in the dream world, then they die in real life, but the women don't. But she has to escape, at the end, and she can't kill herself to escape. She has to like go in this elaborate chase scene that takes forever.
Forever, guys.
Yeah, and then
Forever.
there's multiple moments where it's like you said, when she kills her husband, and then 5 seconds later she's like walking out and being like, I wonder what happened to, like, did all the other women know? Or like she's like having all these conscious thoughts right after she's...
You know, like when you're watching Jurassic Park and the people just stare at the dinosaur and you're like, run, you're an idiot, and this is not real life, this is clearly just a movie, like you would be running. It's like she comes to this realization and then just sits in the realization for like 10 minutes.
Or like at the dinner table scene that's in the preview, you have Chris Pine who kind of makes the allegation that like, I shared my bedroom with you or whatever, and that's not at all what happened. We saw what happened, and instead of like defending herself or saying what anyone would say, she's like just kind of lets it go.
Right.
It's like, well, it's just unbelievable dialogue. Like no one would behave like that. You'd be like, no, dude, like that never happened. She doesn't even deny it, and it was like, we all saw that it didn't happen. So just say the truth.
Yeah, you have to suspend your disbelief a little bit to watch this movie all the way through. Which is just kind of bad writing, right?
Yeah, because even in the real world, if you think about it, it's like, okay, well, if the man, if Harry didn't have a job, how is it that he paid for this device and also continue paying for this device while she was stuck in this world? Like how long can that go for?
I think
what's the end game?
Here's my I think I figured that one out. It's them heading to the headquarters every morning to go to work. It's them actually exiting the sim to work to pay for the sim.
Yeah, I see
think that. But again, I don't know that they explain that in the movie, or maybe they did and I just forgot. But there's so many things that are left unexplained. Like literally, why do men die in real life, but the women don't? And if they don't, like, if I found that out, I would just kill myself and wake up from the sim. But she doesn't think to do that. She just has to escape. And I don't know. It's a mess. It's a mess.
It is. It was kind of like we got our overarching point in here, and that was what was most important.
Yep.
And we don't really have to tie up all the loose ends or do writing very good.
Yeah.
It's just, hey, we said what we wanted to say. And that's my biggest takeaway from the movie. It feels like Olivia Wilde kind of just misses the entire point, in that Jordan Peterson is not someone who's wanting to return to 1950s era rigid gender roles. He's just saying there's chaos and there's order. Traditionally, in sort of mythological terms, chaos is associated with the female, order is associated with the man, and we need to return. His argument is we need to return to balance because we live in a hyper feminized world right now. Dennis Prager got into a bit of trouble talking about this, where he talked about how women are doing more damage to society right now because of this coddling culture, because we have the chaos of confusion about gender, confusion about identity in our society right now, and no one is willing to impose any sort of rigid rules. Why can that Canada saying that this shop teacher with the giant fake prosthetic boobs, that's okay, and we have no boundaries and no order for anything. And Jordan Peterson's just like, guys, they're calling back to a time where, hey, some boundaries are okay, some objective truth, or things that we can learn, wisdom from the past, wisdom from history, wisdom from religion, we can apply those in modern times. It's not saying we need to go back to the Neanderthal age, but it just means we should have some balance because we're out of balance now. And it's not that men are inherently better than women or should be in charge, or that women, because the answer that the movie has and that modern feminism has to that is to put women in charge. And if we are stabbing the people who are in control and we take over, it's okay if we break all those rules. It's not about having a rigid a set of values that we all adhere to and agree on. Hey, it's bad to commit violence, it's bad to oppress other people. It's just now it's no, that the girls are in charge and now we can impose whatever we want to impose. And it's like, okay, have fun. Yeah, some wrong was done, and it's the same logic with like when you think about how the left deals with race and the sin of slavery. It's now we just flip it around, and it's not actually trying to get us back to a place of neutrality and governed by principles and values that we all agree on. It's you guys screwed us over. Nope, had the same message, and now we're the ones in control, and we get to impose our way. And it's just like that's not progress. I'm sorry.
It's not. In all these movies, they just become so. I was sitting in the theater like, I know how this ends. I know how this ends. Yep. You know how it ends by the time you're like 5 minutes into the movie, because that's how all films are made in the modern day now, because they're all injected with this sort of ideology. There's no way you're making a film where the subjugated women don't win. There's no place where you're making a film where the villain is not a white male. And like you can go through some of the major films that have been made in the past, even the past handful of years, past 5 years, and it's like, okay, white male villain, we got to throw a female in there that's being subjugated, but she's triumphant by the end. Pepper some people of color in there, or just make the movie all people of color and make sure they're triumphant by the end, because we have to flip off these different tropes and everything. It's just like utterly predictable to where like I know I'm not going to get a twist in this.
Yeah, and that's why it's like that's the win for them. Oh, we put a person of this skin color to win, and that is the victory. That is the message that's as deep as we need to go, and it's literally skin deep. And a lot of these narratives like, oh, the women won, so and they were smart and could do no wrong, and so that's the message that we need to send because we need to subvert this old narrative. And it's like, A, that's not interesting, and B, it's not reality. Like people watching have real lives, and we're actually like have to contend with a real world where you have to negotiate your existence with other people, and you have real relationships and all this stuff, and like framing everything as though this is how people behave and as though this is just how you correct wrongs or anything like that. It's just it just leads us further into delusion. And I think that's why it's appropriate for you to say this is a feminist fever dream, because and in a way that's a metaphor for how society is right now, because mainstream media, academia, Hollywood just enforces this narrative that you're oppressed by this oppressive patriarchy, and it's trying to just keep us all imprisoned in this virtual reality that they're imposing on us.
Yeah, and I love how they gave the face of masculinity and that cage as like it's very eloquent, it's conniving, it's like it's interesting and intriguing, and like it'll bring in the quote unquote weak men. So I feel like this movie was also like a calling to call them beta males, being like, hey, wake up, like don't fall into this trap of listening to someone like a Jordan Peterson or this kind of message of, go on your own journey. Like we need to, literally the bus driver in the movie was like, we need to stay here where it's safe, in this community, in this compound, in this way of thinking. And it's like, it was as though she was trying to shine a light and say like, oh, this is what everybody who's against this message of wokeness or femininity, they're scared. They're scared because it takes true courage to go out into the desert and find yourself like Florence did. Like I forget the black actress.
Margaret.
Margaret, did at the beginning. So it's a strange message to even those beta men.
I mean, it's like, okay, it's basically the message to men in this is like, if you are a man who's in an undesirable life, and you just stay in that life and don't do anything about it, and certainly don't listen to another man who's telling you can be masculine or you can find something else. All in all, bad messaging on this movie.
Movies like this and messaging from this in our culture is why we've left Jordan Peterson behind and are onto the Andrew Tates. And you're not stamping out this, you're just perpetuating the problem where you're not giving masculinity its proper place, and you're trying to shove it down in a corner and say you're not allowed to be a man, you're not allowed to live into your nature or contend with it or overcome it. Like, give me a story where a man has to contend with his own nature that wants to be too aggressive or wants to be violent or whatever, and then subjugates that and earns the affection of a woman because of that. Like, that's a classic story, and that is consistent with the real lives that we live. But when it's just this, you've had your chance as a man historically, and you guys have always had the power, and now it's our turn, so sit down, shut up. That's not going to foster a functional society. It's just going to foster resentment and dysfunction.
There we go. And those are thoughts on Don't Worry, Darling. We could talk about this more in depth because there's so many characters we didn't get to and so many different storylines we did not talk about. But those are our general thoughts on it. Let us know if you go and check out the film. Let us know what your thoughts are when you do see it. Were we right? Were we wrong? Is there something that you disagree on? Let me know down in the comments below. Now we're going to get to Ana Kasparian, the Young Turks, and Dennis Prager. Let me get into a little bit of our history here. So the Young Turks is I don't know if I can call them famous, is a left-leaning channel on the internet, headed by Ana Kasparian and Cenk Uygur. And Ana Kasparian very much dislikes PragerU, and she's made that abundantly clear. She actually ended up tweeting out some tweets about crime and the problem of crime in America, which is an issue that we agree on. And we reached out to Ana Kasparian and said, hey, I know we're on different sides of the aisle. Would you like to come on the show and have a talk about crime? Because I feel like it'd be good to see two women who disagree find some agreements on these things. She, instead of responding to the message, went on the Young Turks and said, Prager, you reached out to me, and I cannot believe they would even think I would go on their show. Doesn't matter how much money you paid me, I wouldn't be on PragerU. And she's like, I don't want to be your friends, PragerU, is what she said in this video.
Yeah, it's like we didn't offer any money. We were just like, hey, we want to create civil discourse around this topic, and we seem to agree here. We can talk about where we agree, where we disagree. And it was like,
yeah,
how dare you?
It's like a little chihuahua coming at me. And we ended up having to just like show the screenshots, be like, yo, dude, we gave you a totally nice response of like asking you to come on the show, and this is your weird, twisted reaction to being invited to have a civil discussion. Anyways, she also famously hates Dennis Prager, and finally, Dennis has been able to be on the Young Turks and actually have a debate. I put that in air quotes because I doubt any of us will find this to be a debate once we end up watching this, but a debate with Dennis Prager, and let's react to that video.
To any left-wing columnist on the New York Times to debate me anywhere they want. They could choose the moderator. They could choose the audience. And serious money.
Joining us now is Dennis Prager, the man you just saw in that video. And Dennis, I guess you could call TYT acetaminophen because we don't want you to ache. We want to make sure we give you an opportunity to feel good by debating someone on the left.
Funny, 'cause I was thinking if only you were a New York Times columnist, how much money you'd be making now.
Well, I'm a little more honest than a New York Times columnist, so this will be.
Is she though? Anyways,
a great conversation. Thank you for doing it. So I wanted to.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. So I wanted to just kind of start off with, I guess, disagreeing with the notion that the left is afraid to have these kinds of discussions or debates. In fact, you had tweeted that video that we started this conversation with, and there were a lot of responses from prominent individuals on the left. I want to give you a few examples, starting with Vosh, who's a big Twitch streamer. He's got a big YouTube channel as well. He says, "You couldn't be more wrong. I love spirited debate in the free marketplace of ideas." He even provided his email and would love to have that conversation with you. My good friend Ben Burgess also responded. He's a great guy. He says, "Hi Dennis, I'd be delighted to chat with you either on my show or you could host it through PragerU, or I'm sure Modern Day Debate or some other neutral platform would be happy to host it."
It's so interesting that we start off with this subject because Dennis is on your platform to debate you. And while he's on your platform ready to debate you, you start off by saying, well, Dennis, you say that nobody wants to debate you. And here's some evidence of people who want to debate you when he's on your platform to talk the issues. He's right there sitting in front of you. Get into the issues and talk about it. But no, she goes on with this for a little while. We're going to skip and let Dennis respond.
Oh, I have no doubt that there are a lot of people on the left. The issue that I raised was people at the New York Times and people like you, for example. You pleasantly surprised me by doing this, to be perfectly honest. And by the way, I think proof of my theory is a piece that I read on some left-wing or progressive site just today about how angry many of your viewers are that you're having me on. Whereas I will tell you, I would get no such feedback from the right if I had a left-wing person on my show. They would be thrilled. So I still stand by my belief that in general, the people certainly in the higher echelons of the left don't want to debate. But it's probably not worth debating whether there would be such a debate. I presume we're having one now.
Yes.
And
Thank you for making the point, Dennis, because it just seems
So
like a
graciously,
ridiculous,
too.
so graciously too. And you'll find that throughout this entire debate, we might not watch the whole thing, but you guys can go through. Dennis makes several times goes, oh, well, I think you're right about that. You know, I actually agree with you there. Or I think it's very nice that you brought me on the show to talk to you. Does she make one single charitable point towards Dennis?
We'll see. I mean, yeah, I don't recall one.
No.
Yes.
I'm glad we are.
Well, look, the left isn't a monolith. There's a lot of disagreement on the left. There's certainly a lot of disagreement on things that I say on this show on various issues, even when it comes to crime. I'm sure you've noticed some of the backlash I've received in that regard as well. However, I will say there is a reason why the right wing tends to be more open to having these kinds of discussions and debates, and the left wing gets a little uneasy about it. And it's because there has been this prevalence of prominent figures who identify as the left, right, or on the left, who then later start to, cozy up to right-wing figures.
Oh, pause. So you're admitting what Dennis said was true, that the left is less ready to get into a debate with other people. That's what she just said in the statement, even though she was denying it like 2 seconds ago. It's unbelievable.
That's contradiction number 1. Yeah. Self-contradiction.
Let's keep going. Do we need like a little point counter? Drinking game, guys.
And then it turns out that they completely moved to the right wing because they're essentially paid to do it. They're used as tools by the right wing to essentially spew right-wing talking points while purporting to still be on the left. In fact, Dave Rubin's a great example of that. Dave Rubin used to work with us. He identified as someone on the left.
Dave,
yeah, go ahead.
Forgive me.
Ana Kasparian has never heard of somebody changing their mind in her life.
Here, let me hand you a few more dollars to keep talking for us. Amala. Thanks.
Thank you so much. I'm taking my my oil
great.
fracking. What is it? My fracking money.
Billionaire money.
Yeah.
Dave Rubin made a video for PragerU, Why I Left the Left.
Oh, I know.
He does not, in fact, state to the world that he's still on the left.
What did she say?
I don't know who you.
Ding! Contradiction number 2. She just said that Dave was pretending to be a leftist while espousing conservative beliefs, and Dennis goes, he made a video called Why I Left the Left. I know.
Yeah, and if you're interested if you want to talk about Dave Rubin, I mean, we have the perfect video coming out next week where Dave reacts to his old Red Pill video with Larry Elder, and in that video, he is walking you through his thought process. He's like, yeah, going into this, I was a liberal, and I mean, I don't want to spoil it, but he's basically like he had experienced cognitive dissonance after being caught in a lie, and he didn't have to publish that video of him looking bad, by the way. It wasn't negative for his career that he put that out there at that time, but he had enough integrity as a person and as a journalist, which is kind of the kernel of what, and he'll say this, and Larry said it too, of why he was led to his transformation, is because he had that integrity as a person and was couldn't ignore facts.
Right. And it's just like when you are tripping over yourself to be right or to win in a debate, which is clearly the energy she's giving off right here, and you can tell in the body language, you can tell she's sort of chomping at the bit to jump at him a little bit while Dennis is sitting there like letting her respond. And when you have those two energies, you're going to contradict yourself. She's like jumping to contradict herself because she's just so ready to get a win on Dennis. And in my opinion, it doesn't happen. You guys can let us know by the end of this if you think it did.
You have in mind, so I can only address the one name that you gave. Dave Rubin acknowledges he's not on the left.
It's interesting because if I recall correctly, you had a conversation with Dave Rubin and how incredibly important it was that he was engaging in these discussions with you, discussions with the right wing, and you stated something very specific. I actually want to go to that video and I want to get your thoughts. Maybe you can elaborate on what you meant in this video. Let's watch.
Oh my gosh, YouTube ads, this is how they get you every time. It's capitalism, baby.
I want you to continue to say you're a liberal because you're of great use to good values.
Well, don't worry, I'm not doing it for your use of me. I'm doing it for myself.
No. It's like Christians who say to me, oh, we would love you to come to Christ, but you are so valuable to us as a Jew when you defend us Christians. Yeah. And they're right. You are valuable in the best sense of the word because America needs people who are clearly liberal and to be honest, and fall into the category of kosher as gay, to say, hey, hello, the conservatives are not hate mongers. Hello, they should be heard. And maybe every so often you should read National Review or watch a PragerU video.
Wow, it's almost like Dennis is absolutely right with what he just said. Yeah, it's almost like it's a really powerful thing to be from an identity group that leftists try to use against conservatives and go, hey, the conservatives are pretty cool. It's almost like that's what is needed, but only because of the environment that leftism has created. Like, it shouldn't be necessary for me looking like myself to be the one who talks about race and from a conservative perspective, but leftists have created that environment where it takes somebody like me to say the things that I say to be listened to.
And also, she said herself, the left's not a monolith, but in the same breath, it's like, but anyone who expresses any conservative sympathies is a shill or a spy.
Right. They're taking that sweet, sweet fracking money.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Prager, you can understand why members of the left would feel a little uneasy when...
Also, pause. I love how it's just like Dennis is going on this platform, and it's just Ana Kasparian bringing up everything she's ever disagreed with him on and being like, defend yourself, Dennis. Defend yourself, Dennis. Dennis, I in fact have an old video of you at 5 years old pushing over another kid on the playground. Can you defend this action, Dennis? It's literally what this entire video is.
These discussions take place because usually it's a sign that someone on the left got lured in with some billionaire cash, like Dave Rubin did.
Oh, okay. Well, see, that's an unfair statement. I don't accuse people on the left of having their positions because of money, and I don't think you should do that with regard to conservatives. Alan Dershowitz is not a right winger, but Alan Dershowitz has said to me, this Harvard professor who's very well known, he's lost all his friends because he defended Donald Trump in court. He didn't even vote for Donald Trump. Just merely defending his right to have a defense was enough for him to lose his friends. The assumption on the left is that if you're a conservative, you're a despicable human being. And this is a perfect example. The only reason Dave Rubin would have done it was for money. I don't know anybody on my side of the spectrum who holds their positions because of money. There's a hell of a lot more money on the left anyway.
Really?
If you want to get money.
Yep, really.
How is PragerU funded?
The Washington Post.
How is PragerU funded?
That's like turning around and be like, who funds the Young Turks? Who funds CNN and MSNBC? And who owns Apple? And who owns Twitter? And who owns Instagram? And who owns YouTube and Google? And all these other entities that are clearly left-leaning. And going, really? 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 We don't have money? It's ridiculous to think that left-leaning people don't have money. Even if you function on the assumption that conservatives are the world makers and they're the ones who are truly, the puppeteers and making everything happen. Even if that were the case and that were the world that we were living in, the alternative to conservatives being leftist, they would still have money. You represent 50% of the United States population, and you think that 50% doesn't own any money and isn't really significant in places like Silicon Valley, where most of the world's money is being held? Just come on now.
Yeah, it's convenient to be able to attribute financial incentive as Dave Rubin's motive, because then you don't have to contend with the arguments that made him change his mind. And you don't have to contend with the cognitive dissonance of thinking that somebody who thought just like me, that I thought I agreed with, that I trusted, that was on my side, has changed their mind. I don't have to contend with why. I can just say they're doing it for money, and then that settles the argument. And it's basically an ad hominem against that idea, because you're attacking his character and disparaging him as a shill instead of contending with his argument. And that's just a very elementary fallacy in argumentation. So if you're inviting someone to a debate and your biggest example that you have is immediately to point to someone, well, they changed their mind and it's because of money, you're attributing motives to someone instead of just contending with ideas, which is what Dennis is there for. You can tell as he's speaking extemporaneously. So he's using his thoughts. He's not, he's very present in the conversation, and it feels like she's going to talking points and pre-prepared lines of attack and just hoping one of them sticks.
Right. She's like, this one didn't get him, on to the next one. This one didn't get him, on to the next one, on to the next one. But she has more integrity than the New York Times people.
Post. By people on the internet and by wealthy donors. But PragerU is pittance compared to the money that is available just to BLM. How much money was given to Black Lives Matter by the Ford
Not
Foundation
by billionaire donors. They certainly received quite a bit of money from individuals who wanted to donate to that cause.
How delusional do you have to be to think that there are not left-leaning billionaires who are funding their own ideology in this country? Like, really, come on. Really, come on. For every right-wing conservative billionaire who's funding other people's campaigns or funding media outlets or whatever, you name it, there is a billionaire doing the same for endeavors on the left. Just take a look at Bill Gates and the different amounts of money that he gives to media or his own endeavors, or his pathway to equitable math instruction that says 2 + 2 is 4 is white supremacy. Look at how much money that man has and where the money's going. It's unbelievable.
But if you think there's a lot of money on the left, I mean, you would be mistaken. But I do want to move off this because there are actual topics, issues that are worth discussing.
The richest zip codes vote Democrat. The wealth today in America is disproportionately on behalf of Democrats and the left wing. That's either a fact or not. Anybody could look it up.
I don't know how he stays so calm. I literally don't. I don't understand. It would be.
He's done this a few times.
Oh my gosh! It would take so much labor for me to stay calm when this woman. And you can listen. She's not listening. She's not. She's. When can I get my next point in? When can I interrupt you and put my next point in?
There's a difference between voters in wealthy parts of the country and who ends up serving as donors, both for politicians, corporate politicians, of course, and for right-wing media. If you think left-wing media has major billionaire donors, again, you'd sadly be mistaken. But the information regarding PragerU, which, by the way, you're listed as an organization that's tax exempt, correct? And you're not supposed to be talking about political issues. But last time I checked, PragerU talks about a lot of political issues.
The amount of confusion. You know, what's my saying? It's the confidence for me. It's the confidence and the gall that you have to be just lying in the words that you're saying and directly face to the camera. And then to walk away thinking that you've won the encounter is just mind-blowing to me. And Dennis will explain this answer. I'm not going to get into PragerU's funding and what we're able to talk about because he explains it perfectly.
Well, then you haven't checked in a long time. For example, we never did a single video on Donald Trump, and that's not exactly political. We just did we put out a video a week. So we have 500 videos out and we just put out one on Millard Fillmore. If you consider that political,
riveting.
Most people never heard of it. We're doing every single.
So we proved to you that we're not doing it, and she's like, riveting.
Oh, I thought you said that.
No. She said riveting.
Oh, man.
So it's like, oh no, Anna, we're actually not making political videos. Here's what our videos are about. Riveting. She's just there to hate on whatever it is that you say. It doesn't matter. You're not going to make a point with her. You're not going to get her to come at you with a balanced response to what you're saying because, like in her previous videos, she stated, I think PragerU is, full of garbage. They're garbage human beings or whatever it is that she said. I don't know the direct quote. But if you're coming into a conversation with somebody already believing that about them, what is your incentive to listen to what they have to say?
Yeah, and she's demonstrated a willingness to lie, commit logical fallacies, and play dumb and pretend like she doesn't know that any billionaires fund anything on the left in order to score points in what she clearly views as like a sparring match and not an actual intelligent debate and exchange of ideas. There's no effort to actually understand where he's coming from at any point in this.
At all.
Yeah, it was like you were saying earlier, she devolved into ad hominems, and now this just juvenile, riveting sort of comment. It's just like, come on, that's derailing an actual genuine conversation that you guys are trying to have, or at least Dennis is trying to have.
She's pretending to try to have.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
President. Many of our videos, probably at least half, are purely educational. So to tell you about every president, for example, Democrat or Republican, by some noted historian, it's a caricature of PragerU for you to say that we are largely political.
PragerU describes itself as conservative. Like it's a conservative take, which by the nature of it being conservative.
Tell her, Dennis.
Well, let's pause.
I can't wait to hear how he explains this. Sorry.
Is political. But listen, it is what it is. I do want to move on to other issues because there are actual political issues that you're here to discuss.
You can't make a point and then not be responsive.
Okay, go ahead.
Nice, Anna.
Yes, you can be conservative, for example, socially, and not specifically. Politically generally means vote Republican. We don't tell people to vote anyway in any direction. But yes, we do believe that America is the finest country ever founded. If that makes us political, we're political.
Pause there. And, just to get a little bit deeper into this and into this argument that a lot of people like to make regarding PragerU, you have nonprofit organizations, right? You have, I'll even give you a little bit more in depth. You have 501c3 nonprofit organizations. You have 501c4 nonprofit organizations. 501c3 organizations cannot tell you how to vote. They don't talk about Dems versus Republicans. They don't tell you how you should view certain legislation. They don't tell you what party you should be a member of because we are simply not allowed to do that. And all of those things fall under the umbrella of what? Politics. Although I'm not sure Ana Kasparian knew that. which is exactly why we don't talk politics here at PragerU. We talk values.
So I want to move on to other statements you've made, other issues. You know, you do focus on culture war related issues, your distaste, hatred for secularism. I want to start off without putting words in your mouth. I'm going to show a video of something you said just yesterday on the Dennis Prager show that I thought was fascinating. So let's take a look at that and we'll discuss.
The computer sticker phenomenon is crazy. It was actually one of the biggest
girl
shocks.
Julie.
I mean, what does that mean?
On your computer right here, people, instead of just having a blank back,
I see.
they would
have
put
messages.
Yes, it would either
And
be
what was the common message?
I heart women or just the female sign, you know, the circle and
Wait,
the arrow.
I heart women on a woman's computer?
Yes.
All of this is proof to me that women need men. These women are manless. They may have hookups, but they're manless. And they might have been fatherless too. Ending with my generation, I would say ending with the baby boomers, but certainly through then, a young woman thought a lot about, do I have a boyfriend? Mm-hmm. What will my wedding be like? What will I wear? Who will be there? Who will the guy be? That I believe is healthy and normal for a young woman. Mm-hmm. It's a good thing. That has been knocked out by the feminist left. And if you think about it, you're a weak female.
So fascinating statements there. You seem to believe that women who love themselves, who love women, who feel confident about being women, tend to be manless and lonely. Do you genuinely think that? Do you think I'm manless and lonely? I think women rock.
I said that in general, women.
Do you really think women rock? Do you think there are bad women, Ana Kasparian? Do you think there are women who totally don't rock? Because there are. And to look at a group of people and go, because you're a woman or because you're a man or because you're anything, you rock or you're cool or I support you, would just be wrong on its face. It's an incorrect statement. I don't look at other black people and go, you rock, dude. I don't have on my laptop, I love black people, even though that's totally fine to say. Much like Taylor doesn't have on his laptop, I love white men. Because that'd be a little weird. I think we'd like turn our nose up at somebody who did that. Also because it would be false. Anyways.
Need men, and I've said 1,000 times that in general, men need women. The fact that that's controversial is a statement about what's happened to our culture.
But you got triggered by a story about women who
triggered.
had laptops.
He was so triggered in that. You know, Dennis is turning red. He's fuming. He's foaming at the mouth. There's steam coming out of his ears.
Yes, the person triggered in this video is definitely on the left side of your screen.
Stickers that just say positive things about women. Your mind immediately went to, they might have daddy issues and they're lonely. They need men. I want to understand your thinking. Like, okay, how do you get to that conclusion?
It's if you had a heterosexual man, with 97% of men are heterosexual, with a sticker "I love men," you would wonder why. Why don't men have stickers "I love men"? But you think it's perfectly normal and a non-issue that women would have stickers "I love women." What is the point of saying that? It is worthy of a question. And I don't think that 50 years ago this would have been, obviously there were no laptops then, but I don't think it would have been a common sentiment. I don't understand why women would need to announce "I love women" if they're not a gay woman. You tell me, I'm curious. What does that signify?
Well, I mean, listen, as an individual who values free speech and freedom of expression, I think that women and men can have whatever laptop stickers they want.
Did he make an argument for policing people's laptop stickers? Because I missed it, if that's what he said. Anyways.
And the reason why there is a difference between men and women in regard to those laptop stickers is because, I mean, when you really think about it, women didn't have the right to vote for a very long time. Women didn't even have the ability.
It's oppression. Your sticker on your laptop is a sign of how oppressed you are.
what it comes down to.
The sticker on my MacBook Pro is a sign of my oppression.
And that my life's meaning and happiness is tied up in fighting this said oppression.
Yeah.
You know,
when I see a 16-year-old girl with an I Love Women sticker on her MacBook Pro sitting in Starbucks drinking her $15 venti coffee, I think oppression. I think historical oppression, and I think this is a win for women.
Women just got the right to vote, Amala. Oh, shit. It's only been about 100 years.
It's basically yesterday.
Sexual revolution only happened like 50 years ago.
You're right. It actually feels really near and dear. That feels like it was yesterday.
To apply for a credit card until the 1970s. There have been equality issues when it comes to men and women. Now, we're getting a lot better, that's for sure. But first of all, I don't agree that women have laptop stickers that just simply say, I love women. It's probably some sort of...
You don't agree that that exists? I'm so confused.
Yeah,
Did you say I don't agree? Now the argument is that I don't agree that the laptop stickers even exist.
Yeah, apparently the girl was a liar on the video that you just watched.
Right.
She was just telling a lie just to start a conversation so Dennis could get triggered.
Right. It's like the gender theory thing. It's like, absolutely, that's not even happening in schools.
Right.
It's not even happening. Because I don't want to defend the fact that it's wrong. I just want to say that it's not happening.
Empowering statement for women, but that doesn't translate to, oh, I'm a lonely, manless person, and I should go back to the good old days when women sat around
so
thinking about whether or not they're going to find a husband and get married. You seem to push your values and your views on relationships onto other people. And
is expressing your views on a podcast pushing your views on other people?
They have the choice to listen or not.
I know. You can listen to him and go, I disagree with everything you just said, and also I don't care about what you just said. He's not pushing them on anybody.
Yeah, he even started to say, I'm allowed to give my opinion on things. She appealed to free speech in the first place to defend the existence of the stickers, but he's not allowed to use his free speech to criticize them.
Dennis does exactly what Jack did in Don't Worry, Darling. He kidnaps women and folds their eyes open to watch his 5-minute videos.
What I'm trying to get you to understand is, rather than making generalizations about what's best for women, maybe allow people to live their lives as they see fit, have a belief system as they see fit. Okay. Why do you feel the need to force your beliefs onto other people? Go ahead.
Well, first of all, okay, I don't understand the word force. The fact that you think that if I offer my opinion, I'm forcing people to adopt it is a bit odd.
You don't believe that America should be secular, so what does that mean?
Wait.
It's also an opinion.
Let me finish that point.
Sure, go ahead.
I believe that I have the right, as you do, to offer people thoughts on what might be a better and happier life for them. I've written a book on happiness, which has touched a lot of lives if one wants to read the reviews on Amazon. I believe, again, that in general, of course, every generalization has exceptions. Most women will have a better and happier life with a good man, and most men will have a happier and better life with a good woman. I don't know why that is controversial to state. All I know is that having adopted...
Pause. So there is evidence to support that women are happier when they lead lifestyles like this, and that's very clearly what he's trying to communicate to Ana Kasparian. But just the refusal to listen, and to flip it on his head, I wish Dennis had been like, so Ana Kasparian, when you go on the Young Turks and give your opinion, are you forcing your opinion on other people? Because they have the exact same job. And that should be abundantly clear in the fact that she's interviewing him on her show right now. They have the exact same job. So is what she's doing any different than what Dennis is doing? No, it's really not.
The view that career is more important than marriage has led to more depressed women than anything that preceded it. There are more young women today depressed than at any time in American history. This is in the New York Times. This is not from a right-wing source. I think feminism has made women more miserable than happy.
So I'm going to address that in just a second, but I want to address what you said prior to that very quickly. So listen, I don't have a problem with someone saying women are likely to be happier in life if they find a partner to share their life with. I don't think that that's a controversial statement. What is controversial is you seeming to imply that feeling confident or supportive toward women and being happy single or in a relationship, that it's mutually exclusive. Like, you can't be supportive of women and
pause. Let's go back to the sticker thing, right? Let's put ourselves in the situation, in the headspace of a young woman who buys a sticker that says "I love women," even though it's such a ridiculous conversation to be having. We're talking about laptop stickers, which goes to show how hard it is for Ana Kasparian to find bad clips of Dennis if she has to go and get a clip of him talking about laptop stickers. Anyways, I'm a young woman who goes to Target and I buy an "I love women" sticker. I slap it on my laptop or a bumper sticker on my car. What does that say about me as a person? First of all, it says that I'm delusional. You should make that really clear, because you can't love all women. Some women are nasty and horrible. You might think I'm a nasty, horrible woman, but guess what? That would be a proof of my statement. Nobody loves all women. It's not true. And in that sticker, what else does that communicate? It also communicates that you might have some delusional takes on men if you feel the need to just, in an outburst to the world on your laptop, say, "I love women. Here's the women sign in case you didn't know I was a female." It communicates those characteristics about yourself, and intentionally so. Women don't buy that to be like, "Oh, I'm a woman who supports women." They do it to virtue signal and say, "Look at me, I love women, and I'm a feminist." It's what they do. And what other ideas often are coupled with those modern day feminist ideas? Ideas of toxic masculinity. The idea of "I don't need no man." The ideal of, I'm gonna work in my career and we'll focus on having a family or having a man later. These things can go hand in hand. So making that observation and stating that opinion is not some crazy wackadoodle thing to say. It's pretty clear.
And have a happy life. Like, the weird connection that you tried to make there makes no sense. What was the final thing that you said?
I was speaking about the depression among women in today's time.
That's a great point. And you know what? That's right. There's actually increasing rates of depression and anxiety among men and women. I think that's important to point out. And you are concluding that it's because of, I guess, the breakdown of the traditional family. Is that people who remain single?
I think that the belief that many young women have that if they find a man, that's a great thing, but the thing that will really bring them joy in life is career, has misled massive numbers of women into a less happy life. Career is not as terrific as the feminists portrayed it as being. The joy available for most women with a good husband and making a family is incomparably more than from a career.
Have you considered some of the economic issues within this country that don't really give women a choice as to whether or not they should focus on?
Let's get into this whole you need the double income, you need the man and the woman to work. Okay, yeah, totally. There are economic conditions that give way to that being the reality. He's talking about women who stand on a soapbox and go, "You need to have a career, and that's better than having children. In fact, don't have children because it's bad for you, it's bad for the environment, it's a sign of patriarchy," which is a very, very Marxist idea to have. He's talking about those women. Not women who go, "Oh man, I want to have kids, but we don't have enough income, and I got to go to work, and I got to have a career because I want to provide for myself, and I want to provide for my significant other." These are two very separate groups of women, and I'm sure you guys know that because you've met women from both of those groups.
That's a very real issue. I fully acknowledge that. That if you don't have a career to fall back on, and there's a divorce, that you're entirely right. That is not the same thing as saying career is going to give you a great deal of meaning and happiness like a marriage will. You're entirely right. Economically speaking, there is value in having a fallback career. I fully acknowledge that.
But I'm going further than that, because the idea that a family can live in a single income household today is laughable. That is incredibly difficult to do. And so while the right wing and you yourself seem to have this idea that, well, women should focus on marriage, they should focus on building a family. First of all, you can't force anyone to do that, right? But let's say you want to encourage women to focus on that. You want to give them the choice, but you want to encourage them. A great way to encourage them is to create an economic system in which people feel comfortable knowing that they can survive on a single income household. I'm talking about when they're married, okay? Both individuals in a marriage have to work in order to be able to pay their rent, pay their mortgage, put food on the table.
Not always true.
For their children, educate their children. Wages have remained stagnant since the 1970s. Women don't have a choice as to whether or not they can work or whether or not they should just focus on raising children. They don't have the choice. That's the point I'm trying to make.
Right, and we differ on that because the reason that many women, not all, but perhaps most even, are working is not just economic, especially certainly in the upper class, upper middle class, and even part of the middle class. It is because they believe that their self-worth derives more from work than it does from family. If a girl got up in a high school or college class, let's say a professor or a teacher said, so women, I mean, to the extent that they can now say that, because you can't say boys and girls in many elementary schools, because we're told by your side that sex is not binary. But let's say they say, we'd like the women in this class, please stand up and tell us what your vision for your life is. If a girl got up in a college class and said, you know, to be honest, my greatest hope in life is for a good marriage and to make a family, she would be regarded as almost a freak.
Would she? I mean, what is that based on? Yes, what evidence do you have to back that up?
I live in the real world.
So
I love that response, because there are some statements that you just get a pulse on society and culture for. And that would be one of those statements. You know, I know that if Taylor went out into the street and screamed the N-word, things would not bode well for him. What evidence do you have?
What studies have you read that suggest that? Where's your data?
Show me the data that says he can't go out in the street and scream the N-word. I live in reality and I see what people are saying, thinking, and feeling.
Yeah, it's a common sense statement, but we don't live in a world of common sense anymore. So apparently you have to flesh that out with data.
So crazy. Oh my gosh.
Why?
Okay, and you believe that if a girl got up and said that, she would be regarded with the same respect as the girl who said, I'd like to be a physicist?
I believe that most normal people are too busy thinking about how they need to survive and are less concerned about the aspirations of individuals in their classroom.
Girl, what? I mean, like, you're sitting in 2022 in the United States of America on your own pseudo television show saying that most people are just focusing on surviving and they don't have the time to have cultural squabbles when your entire show is about cultural squabbles and politics. It is quite literally like the entirety of the conversations that many of us are having here in the United States of America. And it's because a lot of us, not all of us, lead very cushy lives where we do get the privilege of being able to have these conversations. It's why we're sitting here, and it's why, you know, nearly 700 of you on YouTube are watching this podcast right now. It's because, yeah, plenty of us have the time to talk about cultural issues that we're facing and give our opinions on them. We're not all sitting around like hunter-gatherers waiting on our next bushel of berries.
Room. And so if you have data backing up that women who want to be homemakers are persecuted in this country, I'd love to see that data. And I wouldn't agree with that persecution.
I never said they're persecuted.
You seem to imply that they're being victimized by wanting to be homemakers, and I just don't buy it.
Okay, fine. So good. This is a classic example of what I say on my radio show. I prefer clarity to agreement. You think that a girl who got up in a college class and said my most fervent dream is to have a happy marriage and a family will be regarded with the same respect as a girl who said I would like to be a physician or a physicist? We differ. Perfect. Okay.
All right. And again, if you have data backing up what you're saying, then I'm happy to admit I'm wrong.
Data. The teachers don't do this and then set into a computer.
So you're just declaring, you're making up stories about how women are treated in the classroom, and we're just supposed to buy it? Okay.
We're each giving the perception of reality that we have. Not every perception of reality has a database. Otherwise, one is a functional moron if one cannot make conclusions about life without data.
Oh my gosh. You know, it just gives Ana Kasparian, for me, just gives such a bad name for women in this line of work who are like supposed to be coming to debates with logic, like logical reasoning. You're supposed to set aside your emotions and debate with logic. And Dennis comes to the table with this calm, cool, serene, logical approach, and you'll find that starts to change a little bit as she just continues to throw emotions at him. But to just set aside your logic for 30 minutes while you're debating this is a real travesty.
It is, and it's kind of like you end up proving the opposite point of the one you're trying to make, just like Olivia Wilde did in her movie.
Yep. You just look like the exact caricature of what people have painted. And it's not a caricature anymore because you are quite literally living up to it.
Yeah. Is there more?
No. Oh, well, there's more.
Okay. All right. So let's move on to right-wing violence.
Pause. Let's move on. I wish, and Dennis is like held her feet to the fire for 30 minutes, so I can't tell Dennis what I wish he did or whatever. But I really wish there was a moment where we went, no, Ana, say right now that you think a woman in college who says, I want nothing more than to be a housewife who takes care of my kids is going to get the same respect as a woman who stands up and says, I want to be a physician. Say right now on the Young Turks, on video, that you think they would get the same amount of respect. And just wait. Because clearly she had a lot of hesitation surrounding stating that. And I wish he just got her to really sit in that uncomfortability for a moment so that people could really see she does not believe what she's saying.
Following the Buffalo supermarket shooting, which of course was inspired by a belief in a conspiracy theory that whites are being replaced with minorities in this country purposely to keep Democrats in power, you felt the need to kind of downplay right-wing extremism in this country. And you said, quote, this man represents such an infinitesimally small segment of the white population. Now, while that statement might be literally true, I don't think that the white population in America mostly consists of domestic terrorists, so I agree with you on that. It seems like you kind of want to brush aside the very real problem we're having in this country with political violence, politically motivated violence, and I want to give you a few other examples. For instance, the Southern Poverty Law Center did a poll and found that 7 out of 10 Republican voters believe in that white replacement conspiracy theory. Are you concerned about that at all?
Pause. Did Ana Kasparian do a segment on the Young Turks talking about the 18-year-old who just got ran over by a car for being a Republican? Now, I don't know whether or not she did a segment on it. I'm just asking. You guys can let me know if she talked about that, because that's political violence that's happening that I'm sure she doesn't want to put a spotlight on. And as far as this poll that 7 out of 10 Republicans or whatever believe in the replacement theory done by Southern Poverty Law Center, guys, take a moment, if you're even interested, to go look up the Southern Poverty Law Center website and see the ideas that they espouse. I had the privilege, I guess, of working closely with the Southern Poverty Law Center when I was a leftist working at my old, very radical organization. The Southern Poverty Law Center is obsessed with white nationalists and neo-Nazis and thinks that America is running amok with white supremacists everywhere. Now, is that a real pulse that you guys have on America? Is that what you're feeling? That there's neo-Nazis running around with swastikas all over the streets? Because that's what the Southern Poverty Law Center would tell you. They tell you it's a massive and extreme problem here in the United States of America. So am I going to trust them on a poll of Americans about the replacement theory? Probably not.
Right now, we have had, I believe, 2 million illegal immigrants, and the Democratic president of the United States has opened our border. There was attempt to close the border to illegal immigration. So I will ask you, and I mean this is not even as a challenge, I'm curious, why do you think people on the left want millions of people to come in legally or illegally?
Well, let's first discuss the inaccuracies in your statement. Number one, there are legal means to immigrate into the United States. So for instance, the asylum seekers who are being used as political pawns by people like
2 million of them.
Texas Governor Greg Abbott, I'm not done, or Florida's Governor Ron DeSantis, they came into this country seeking asylum. meaning they are here legally and they are awaiting a federal judge, an immigration judge, to make a decision about their asylum status.
You know what? I honestly don't think I've heard a leftist make the point that the illegal immigration is actually legal before. Have you heard that?
Recently, yeah, I've seen this idea that because we call them asylum seekers now, and that makes the manner in which they're entering the country without respecting the border is they're legal instead of being
when we change language. That's what justifies what we're saying. And, you know, we went down to the border of California and Tijuana and actually talked to a former Border Patrol agent who is obviously in close network with everything that's happening at the border today. And to say that all of these people are asylum seekers and this is all happening through a legal process is complete and utter BS. I mean, if you take 2 seconds to go and look at Bill Maluggin's page on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, whatever, he's got clear documentation of people just walking straight across the border, right into the United States. Are they all being documented? Are they all being fingerprinted? Are they all being identified by the U.S. government? Of course not. Of course not. The Border Patrol agent that we were working with said he would have men clearly over the age of 18, 25, 30, whatever, saying, oh, I'm a 16-year-old boy and my name is this, just giving out a random name. Do they check you for papers? Do they check you for any identification of any sort? Or do they just let you into the country and say, come back in X amount of days for your court hearing? That's what they do. So to argue that this is all legal, my goodness.
Yeah, and just lost in all this is the simple truth that redefining them as asylum seekers and the choice that's been made to do that has sent the message to the world that, hey, you make it to the border, you get right in. And we'll give you the paper and you come to the court date, say whatever you want, tell whatever story you want, but this is our policy now, and that is effectively an open borders policy by calling it, by characterizing them or treating them legally as asylum seekers. And what that's done is incentivize them by the hundreds of thousands to come.
Yep.
And that's why we have people pouring into this country. That's why we have a border crisis in the first place.
Yep, it's exactly right. We're going to watch a little bit more of this before we close out today's show.
Okay, so the idea that the border is open and people are just pouring in illegally is inaccurate.
Yes, no, it is accurate.
No, it's inaccurate.
So this is a perfect example of where we differ and there's no reconciling.
Right.
Either you're right or I'm right. Either millions are coming in illegally, but whom you are calling legal because they're all seeking asylum. Do I hear you correctly?
We have a system in place for asylum seekers. So are you saying that we should do away with that system? And if you are saying that, then it would require members of Congress to pass legislation that reforms our immigration system. But I think you'll agree with the statement. Members of Congress have no interest in passing any legislation or engaging in any immigration reform. We have companies and businesses that are exploiting undocumented immigrants for cheap labor, and they have no recourse. That exists. But they love the theater. Members of Congress love the theater.
For the record, I spit on corporations. They are woke and they are abusive of labor at the same time. So you're not going to get any defense from me or any conservative of big corporations.
We'll just pause there. There's a few more minutes to this video, which you guys can go check out if you want to go and watch the rest of it. But I think we got the general gist of what happened on the Young Turks.
Yeah, I mean, what else is there to say?
What else is there to say?
Kudos to Dennis for not only holding his own, but like holding his temper.
Yes, because I wouldn't be able to do it. I'm saying that right now.
You got to give yourself credit because, I mean, your viral videos, if you guys haven't seen of her going to Winona State and having a bunch of angry people screaming at you and not listening to anything that you said, and you kept your cool.
Which, by the way, let me mention this before we go to Superchats, which I think there was only like 1 or 2 Superchats anyways.
Get them in now, guys.
I'm going to Winona State University on October 14th to give another speech at the school. And apparently, so this is the school that I got protested at. You guys can check out on our page. We have a full video of me confronting the protesters, trying to have a civil discussion with them, and them just not wanting to do it whatsoever, but fully being willing to be there and protest. In that video, the protesters say, this is not a protest, it's a food drive. Even though we have signs talking about how you guys are hateful white supremacists and you have hateful ideology, this is a food drive, I promise, I promise. So apparently they found out when I'm coming back to the campus and have posted anonymously, campus is bringing PragerU back even after campus protests, students getting doxxed by the speaker. They've accused me of doxing them because they're in my Instagram live stream. No names, no address, no nothing, but are accusing me of doxing them and saying, and multiple complaints to the administration, including a meeting with President Olson. So they're like, we made all this fuss and you're still gonna bring her back to our campus to speak again? Damn right. I'm going to be back on the campus to speak again. And I hope there are protesters outside running their fake food drive with signs calling me a white supremacist or saying I have hateful ideology. I hope. You know, as when Nate Diaz is like talking to Conor McGregor and Conor McGregor's like, I'm going to slap his head off. I'm going to rip it off. And Nate Diaz is like, better hope. That's how I feel. Same energy. Better hope.
Yeah.
So
they could be like scrambling to like, oh, we're going to get our best debater. We're going to dissect these girls' videos and put out arguments against her or do anything like that. But no, it's just, we're going to talk to the president about not letting her come to campus. We need to shut her down and talk about how bigoted she is. And it's the same logic that we saw at play in this interview as well as the movie, I would say.
Right. And we got, so like I said, I did a video of those protesters at Winona State University, and let's just break down the reach that video had. I think the original video on PragerU's YouTube got like 300,000 views of people seeing how delusional some of these protesters are. On TikTok, we got like 7 to 10 million views on a video of them, and that's why they're afraid. They're afraid because they're getting caught on video being ridiculous towards somebody who is coming to have civil discourse with them, and they don't want it to happen again. And in fact, they might not want to have it happen so badly that they don't even protest because they're not ready. They're simply not ready. So, Winona State University, I'll see you on October 14th. Can't wait.
Coming for you with kind conversation and honest thoughts and arguments.
Because I'm so scary. I'm such a scary little 22-year-old girl.
Yeah, I've got my guard up sitting here next to you, shaking in my boots. Keep my eye on you.
Anyways, guys, that is our show for today. Do we have super chats?
I haven't seen any of late, so if you have one.
I think I got one.
They get lost in the chat, guys, so if we don't catch it, I'm sorry.
I did screenshot it. If you left a super chat and I didn't catch it, you can put it in the chat down below. But
we'll always go back and get them if we missed them.
Main Kayla says Finnish language doesn't have gender pronouns. It is equal language, but here some woke lunatics want to use English pronouns, he, him, she, her, they, them. It is absurd to use pronouns artificially. You're not going to find any pushback from us on this show.
Not even Finland is safe.
We are over that. Not even Finland is safe. Wait, where are you going, Taylor, next week?
Not
Finland.
In Norway.
Norway. So not far from Finland?
I mean, it's all in Scandinavia.
Okay, fair enough. We are not on the pronoun train here. So I'm sorry if that's something that is near and dear to your heart, but not for us. Ladies and gentlemen. Did anybody else leave a super chat that we just missed and they're putting it in the comments down below? I don't think so. Guys, we have a survey we'd like you to fill out on the show to let us know what topics you want us talking about, what guests you'd like to have us have on, what videos you want to see more of, what videos you want to see less of. If you hate me and you just want to leave me some hateful comments in the survey, you can do that too. The survey's in the description down below. Once you complete the survey, I believe it will ask you for your email, and that'll sign you up for our email list of Unapologetic, and you will get updates on when our show's coming out. We're going to do this survey for a little while first just to get a pulse on what you guys want and what you guys want to see. Then we're going to release a Discord to you guys that you guys can come and communicate with each other and be in the little chat rooms talking to one another, and I'll of course hop in and talk to you guys as well. What else do we have going on? Yeah, I think that's it. Guys, like, subscribe, click the notification bell to be notified every single time we go live. That is Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, and we also post videos on Tuesday and Thursday. So you're getting videos every day of the week and Saturday and Sunday, because we don't leave you hanging on the weekend, guys. We are just constantly pushing out content. And leave a comment down below. What do I want you to comment on? Do you guys want to get married and have that traditional lifestyle with the traditional gender roles? Do you believe in gender roles? And let us know, because Don't Worry, Darling and this pseudo debate with Dennis Prager was heavily focused on the ideas of feminism and patriarchy. So drop your thoughts on those subject matters down below. And if you disagree with anybody, tell them you disagree. Have a healthy civil debate, unlike the one we just witnessed, down below. Guys, I hope you have a fantastic weekend. I'll be spending mine chilling. You guys got any plans?
I mean, yes, I'm flying to Europe
We
tomorrow.
just talked about that. Scott?
I'm just chilling this weekend. Maybe go golfing.
Ooh.
Okay, golfing. That sounds awfully patriarchal and manly.
Well, remember to turn your wrists. Giving generic advice as our sign off today. What do you
Remember
got
to turn your wrist when you golf? Is that a real
on your
thing?
golf swing?
What is my advice for today? Always keep your phone charged. Advice that I'm not really willing to take.
You're the worst person to give that advice. You're a
I'm the
hypocrite.
worst person to give that advice. Except my phone's at 52% right now, so I'm doing pretty good. It's more than
That's 50% more than normal.
Don't forget to charge your phone, guys. Bye.